Coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
You probably remove yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to talk to them, right?
You know? Right, exactly. Every time you do, they're like, where's my money? Or, pay my card. So naturally, you're like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation. So you just don't.
Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. We have a special guest today. Who is it, Elise?
It's Riggs. Say hi.
Hey, Riggs. Riggs. There he is. Grunt, grunt.
Hey, guys.
We always talk about Riggs. We had to show you guys, everybody, who Riggs is. He's our mascot. He's our best friend here. Okay, all right.
It's probably miserable.
Yeah, I bet.
What are you doing, Mom?
As I was saying, welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. Our only purpose that we really want to achieve with the podcast and everything we do is to increase your awareness on money so that you can live a more prosperous life and you can help create a prosperous nation. It's kind of our thing, right, Elise?
Oh, yeah. That's what we love doing. So
that's cool. Yeah. Now, we didn't, besides promising to invite Riggs, which thank you for bringing Riggs, we said that we would be talking about money ethics. So that's a big topic.
That is. What exactly is money ethics?
Well, that's a great question. And I have to define it all the time because I can tell you straight off that I'm not the money police. So it's not about policing with the money. And I don't need to know whatever issues you got going on. Here's the bottom line is that ethics are what keep you in line with yourself, really, when it comes down to it. The morals, let me just explain. So you have morals and you have ethics. And usually they're interchanged, but they're actually two very different things. Morals are your group agreements and ethics are your personal agreements of how you're going to personally apply yourself within those morals of the group. So if we take it in context of our society, for example, then we all have money morals that make our society work. And, an example might be like pay your debts and, don't overspend. And there's a lot of rules that we follow, just general rules as a group. But money ethics is about you and me. And it's about how we take the rules of society that we live in and then say, okay, how do I want to fit them to work my situation? So here's an example. We have credit cards in society, and credit cards, some people say are good and some people are saying are bad, right? But the bottom line is our society says it's fine to use credit cards, right?
Yeah.
But now our personal rules of how we're going to apply that is our ethics. So we call them money policies here as well. So I might set a policy or a rule for myself that's ethics that says, pay off your credit cards or, don't use credit cards at all or only use one credit card and pay it off or pay down the lowest card first. Whatever rules work for me. Within that, those are my ethics. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what happens? That makes sense, and obviously I think most people have credit cards, right? It's just pretty common. Everyone's obsessed with using them and obsessed with, let's say, points. I know that's a huge topic with most people. They want to use their credit card and get those points. And so how, if let's say I put, I guess a goal or my ethics, I want to be to not use my credit cards unless absolutely needed. What happens if I keep violating that?
Well, you tell me. What happens to you when you keep breaking your own rule? How does it feel?
I don't know. I guess it doesn't feel good. But it's
right? Well, I guess that's the answer, right?
Yeah.
That's really the answer. When you get down to it is because it's your rule. And when you break it, you feel it. Right? If you think about a time when you overspent money, when you told yourself, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to spend, I'm not going to go do that, and then you go do it, it just doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. One time a few years ago, I said, okay, I am only going to use my credit card for certain things. There's only 2 things I allowed myself to use credit cards for, and that was it. And then I made some rules around, how else I was going to pay for other things. And I swear, within 24 hours, I broke my own dang rule. And you know what? I felt terrible about it for a year until I had to remedy it and get it fixed and redo it. And I'm like, what happened? But I think the bottom line that we want to at least start with is when you don't have your own money ethics or you break them. When you do have, you feel terrible inside, whether you admit it or not. right? It's just like any other ethics. You know you shouldn't steal that candy bar. If you go steal that candy bar, you're going to feel bad, right?
Some people.
Yeah. Well,
most people probably would. And I think those are the ones that are probably listening.
yeah, that's true. But you know what we've done here is we've mapped out the prosperity ladder, but that opens up a few cans of worms here that I got to explain. So first off, our goal is prosperity. And there's two very specific things that we talk about. It's, are you flourishing personally? And are you flourishing financially? So prosperity is flourishing personally and financially. So, here's how I used to always talk about it, and I have this in some of my other books. And by the way, it's coming up soon, but this prosperity handbook is going to be the go-to when it gets done. It's not done yet, as you can see. It's still manuscript, but we're getting all of these written down, so you actually have a handbook of how to create your own prosperity in your life. So it's coming. Stay with us on this.
It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. It is about flourishing personally and financially. So think about it. If you are spending all of your money or you're making millions and millions of dollars, but you're locked in your house or you're isolated and you have no friends or you're not happy or healthy in life, that's not prosperity. That's wealth, but that's not happiness, right? Or if you're happy and you're, carefree and you're doing what you love in life, but you're totally, totally broke, that's not great either. So it's so important to say, how do I use money in life in such a way to fund the things that actually bring me happiness? How do I do that? Well, there's a way. But one of the biggest barriers to doing it is being out of your ethics, because that stops you from being able to actually achieve a goal. Now, I know I've said a lot, so let me just take a breath here.
I was going to say, so I know that was a lot of stuff, obviously, you said.
Sorry, I know. Sometimes I just talk too much. I get too passionate about it. So, hey, Elise,
fine. Don't
worry, too. You can totally cut me off and say, hey, Angie, hush for a second. I'm trying to get some words out. You can totally do that to me.
Knock it off. Yeah. But obviously what you said is really important. But how can someone understand that, and apply that to what's actually happening in life? An example you might have, or a story of something that you've seen.
Yeah, I have one that comes to mind. I mean, there's a couple simple ones. One is just even my own self. When I do something that I know is out ethics, just a tiny, tiny bit, then I all of a sudden don't want to talk about my finances anymore, or I don't want to share about it. So, for example, if I think I gave my credit card example before, I'm sharing that with everybody now because I've handled it. But I tell you what, at the time, I felt terrible. And the more terrible you feel, or the more you're embarrassed you did something, like maybe you have too much credit card debt, or, maybe you spent your saving up, if you're saving for buying a house or something for your family and you go buy a boat instead without talking to your spouse about it.
Oops.
Right? Yeah, oops. Then you don't want to talk about it, then you're defensive, and then you start hiding things. And the more that you hide, you pull back and you withdraw away. We had this one person that I worked with for a while that they had a credit card. They were in terrible credit card debt. They were in debt in general, just, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and didn't even know it, honestly, because wasn't paying attention, papers flying all over the place, knew that things weren't in good shape, but had used somebody else's credit card because they needed to, and they had permission to use the credit card, but, that allowed that person to have the extra points, and the free miles and all of these other benefits. And one of the things that I told them right then when they got there was, look, we're going to start straightening these things out because they are going to drag on you and you're not going to be able to achieve your goals. And we've got to confront them and start repairing them. And that was the first sign for me when there was no willingness to stop and the justification that it was fine. And it was, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it. And the truth is what's wrong with it is, in that situation, that person was getting worse and worse and worse. And it wasn't just now borrowing money and using someone else's credit card. Now it was borrowing from clients or from friends or from family members, and wasn't actually focusing on the right actions to get out of that situation, i.e. making more money and spending within what he's making, rather than being able to continue to think that borrowing was the way out. And you start to lose your ability to confront with it. Once you have one little thing you're ashamed of, then you put one more on there and one more, you don't want to look at it anymore because you don't want to face the situation. You lose your confidence.
Sure. And I'm sure in that situation, it probably reflected on the relationships too. The people, borrowing the money from, when you can't confront that, you probably start to pull away from that person.
Right.
The clients are borrowing, whoever it is, you probably remove yourself because you can no longer face them because,
Yeah, you don't want to talk to them, right?
Yeah, right? Because I'm sure every time you do, they're like, "Where's my money?" Or pay my card. And so, naturally, you're like, "I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation." So you just don't. Yeah.
And
so you kind of isolate yourself.
You do, and the farther that you slide down, the more you have to start lying about it, the more you have to make up stories about it. It just gets worse and worse. And the bottom line is, you could just have that honest conversation and say, wow, I'm in trouble here. I need to get out of this. But when you start to go too far down that prosperity ladder, which, by the way, here, I'll show you a visual. So I don't know if you're just listening, you're not going to see this, and it's not on a screenshot. It's just on paper, but it's the prosperity ladder. It has 6 levels on it, and the bottom level is destruction, where your dreams are just shrinking down, and it's like becoming hopeless, and you're destroying yourself and your finances because every time you make that little white lie, or every time you hide something, or every time you're ashamed of something, every time you're not willing to confront, you're breaking those relationships, you slide deeper and deeper down, and it takes more and more courage and confront to start getting back up again.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It really goes to show how it really affects the whole life. It's not just financially, but how it kind of bleeds into other aspects, marriage, friendships, work, etc. So yeah, it's really important. And I think what's really key, kind of what you said, was that this particular person in your example didn't feel like what they were doing was wrong. Mm-hmm. So it kind of shows you how money ethics can be totally unique person to person.
Yeah, but I also think too that when you start to get too far down low, that you are so accustomed to lying and hiding and shuffling things around and moving around that you forget what the real truth is about it. And when you start to believe your situation, or maybe it's just a intense justification to make you feel okay about what you're doing. Because it would be hard to face. Like you said, that'd be pretty crappy, and it's like you don't want to have to see that about yourself, because this person was a great person as a person, but he had this whole shadow life going on.
Yeah, it's almost like having, you hear about people that have gambling addictions, or those kind of things where they take money from people to gamble or whatever, and they keep covering it up. And it's just like you said, you just kind of, the more you take, the further you kind of dig yourself into the situation. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to show this again, this ladder, because we'll go into this in more detail in the future. But as you move up, what's interesting is our society as a whole is pretty low down at the bottom. Now, they're not those extreme examples, what we're talking about. But the next level up, where this is the avoidance, and you're blaming your inability to achieve your dreams on everything else. These things show up in specific money behaviors, and this avoidance area is actually where a lot of people are, just in general in our society. It's quite low on the prosperity ladder levels, and we see it with our clients. If you think about, at least you tell stories all the time about what people do to try and get away with stuff on their taxes, right?
Yeah, a lot. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've heard some wild stuff. People wanting to buy boats.
Okay, well,
through their company. There's nothing wrong with the boat. They want their boat to be a business write-off because they may take clients.
Well, I was going to say, okay, if I did take clients on the boat, though, that's a tax write-off, right? Couldn't that be?
If it's if you're actually doing it, and then but you have to do it, and that's the thing. It's I get it. I get wanting to write off stuff, but are you really doing it? Is it really the expense? Or are you just trying to buy a bunch of stuff?
Thank you. We never did set the rules of the podcast. Can we cuss? Can we not cuss? I don't know. We have a great editor, a great production team. So hey, if we cuss and it doesn't sound good, thank you, Sean.
Yes, I
for saving
myself right there.
I know you did.
Yeah. So people will it's almost like they want to buy stuff just to see what they can get away with, because they want to save a few bucks on their taxes.
Yeah, because what the confusion is it's not about what you can get away with. That's the issue.
It's what is or isn't. Or is it not? Does it not? I don't know. Why are we talking? Why do I go back and forth with clients? all the time. They're like, well, what about this? I'm like, I don't know. Was it a business expense? Well, I did this, and this with it. Okay, so was it a business expense? Like it's like they're
don't
trying
put that
to get
responsibility on me to make your own decisions about what you're doing with your money, right?
Right. So I get like boats and cars and people renting out their homes for events when they never did, and just trying to get the few extra bucks off their taxes. And it just
well, like I said, it's not about what you can get away with, because the IRS is probably never going to audit you on those things. Honestly, they got too many other things to do. So if you get an extra couple $100 right off of it, they're not going to come audit you on that. And I'm not the money police. We're not the money police. No. We're not going to come knocking on your door either.
No.
But
I'm not going to inspect your boat, and show me your log of clients that you took and the dates. I don't care.
But if the IRS audited, you have to show that.
Yeah.
But my point is this, is that it's not about what you can get away with. It's about your own ethics. You know if it's right or wrong for you. You know it. We all know. Because as soon as we do it, and we know we didn't take the client on the boat, or we're just trying to write it off for whatever reasons, then we just know we're hiding something. And that's why people get so scared of dealing with the IRS and get freaking out when those notices, and they know they're hiding things.
Yeah, if you have nothing to hide, you don't care. You're like, please, IRS, come audit me, because I will give you a big finger, when you go through all my records.
That's right. Probably get a refund back.
Right. They'll probably find errors or something, but that's exactly it.
Yeah. It affects just us as a being. If we're lying, hiding, cheating, trying to get away with stuff, or just not being quite honest, maybe we've overinflated our financials to get that better rate on the loan. So much of this stuff is just normal, accepted things in our society. And you're probably never going to get caught. So it's not about that. It's about how fast you want to achieve your goals, period. Because these things drag you down the prosperity ladder. They take you away from expansion, away from creation, and you lose a little bit more of your own personal power every single time. When people come in and their money is just mixed up, their business and personal money is just chaos, which it always is. It's just this messed up mess of stuff.
Right.
And, they don't know. I don't know if that's a business expense. I don't know if that's personal. And we're like, look, the bottom line is we're going to separate these. So we have pure visibility about what it costs you to run your business and run your life. Because without that, we can't strategize for you. We can't get best tax strategies or accounting strategies or financing strategies or investing strategies if it's not true data. So we need truth in the numbers in order for us to help guide you the best we can guide you. And you need it for yourself, because if you can't see it because of your money chaos, then you're hiding from it. And you're back down here at the bottom, near the bottom of the prosperity ladder in the avoidance, because chaos allows you to avoid it.
Yeah. And you also don't know how you're doing. If things are combined, you don't know how the business is going, like you said. And oftentimes when we start to pull and separate these, we find a lot of things that shouldn't be, and money that's just kind of being wasted, that is just so jumbled in with everything else. People don't even look.
Yeah.
So the separating.
And we find a lot of money. We find a lot of money. Yeah. It's in the millions. And it's just always there because there's so much money being lost because of the inability and not being able to confront money and look at it. This avoidance, the whole avoidance of money and looking, it's costing you a lot of money, a lot more than you think, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
I guess what we want to really have you leave today with, if we're going to put it that way, is really just encourage you to be honest with yourself. Just be honest with your money. Where you're spending it on something, if it's wrong, you know it's wrong. If you and your wife or you and your husband or your family have an agreement for what you're going to do with your money and you go do something else, you're going to start hiding that. And then it's going to start causing problems in the family. And then you're going to stop achieving goal. Or if it's just you and your business and you're trying to hit that 7-figure mark or that 8-figure mark or that 9-figure mark, if you're doing those things, your chances of getting there decrease significantly. So we just say, hey, be honest with yourself. You don't have to be honest with me, anybody else, if you don't want to. But be honest with yourself, because you're the only one that matters. It's your prosperity. And we're just saying, hey, We need your help to create prosperity, take responsibility for your own prosperity, because that's the only way we're going to have prosperity in our nation, is if you take your own responsibility and you fess up and handle it and be a little more honest with yourself about it. I'm going to be blunt. That's the Sensei Angie coming out again.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, I think the biggest thing people can do is the first step is just figuring out what that means for them.
Yeah.
What are their own money ethics, and write those down and see how they can live by those. And if they don't, maybe that's not right for them.
That's right. Well, we'll let you, that was kind of heavy. So we'll let you guys think about that. Think with that for a little bit, sit with it, and let us know your stories. Tell us what you discovered. Tell us what you found. Tell us what's going on. We want to hear your stories. We want to encourage you to look. We want to encourage you to share. We want to encourage you to talk about money with us, with others. And let's bring this whole shadow of money in our society up to the surface and bring some light to it.
Yeah, if you have any stories to share, you can always share them with stories@prosperitynation.com. Go ahead and like and subscribe all of our videos, and you can follow us at The Prosperity Nation.
Yes. All right. Well, see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube, and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.